Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Manila Masters 2017 Chinese qualifiers. We're here. We're taking a look at game number 2 in the lower bracket finals. It's team VG.J facing off against LGD Gaming. I'm Lyrical. Going to be joined by the wonderful Tsunami 643. In game number 1, we saw some shenanigans and a half. It was an Arc Warden, there was a Kunk in there was a Spectre hanging out. Tsunami, a little bit more steady drafting, at least to start for LGD. What are you thinking?
Yeah, all the shenanigans that you mentioned also all happened to be on the same team, and it was the same team that lost, so someone's getting pistol whipped for all those shenanigans. This game, they're definitely a little bit more... I mean, it's bittersweet for me because, you know, I do want to see it go to Game 3, but I also love seeing off-meta heroes. It's just that Arc Warden is too far off-meta that even in the hands of a team that can coordinate around it, you really need to have that hero just snowball, and that wasn't the case. And the pairing that was given with the Spectre, also not ideal. So they're going back to basics, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. I think Centaur, War Runner, Lifestealer, two incredibly strong heroes. It was the Magnus first pick overall for Team VG.J, which does mean that LGD chose this side, or rather second pick over going back for the first pick themselves. So a little bit of an interesting switch up there. But Team VG.J, they go with what they know. It's going to be a Juggernaut for aggressive, and that is a melee core with Empower available. So I think that they're in a pretty good spot. I'm not really sure. How do you deal with this type of momentum that VG.J has when they've got, you know, a late game possibility to scale well because of what Magnus brings to the table, and then also you can fight early? How do you deal with this?
Well, that's why I find it very interesting that it seems that only VG.J, from what I've seen of the past few China games, are the only team that prioritizes Magnus this heavily. Like, you see the bans, Slardar is not in any of them, and you never see that happen with other teams. The Centaur will typically get picked, and if the Centaur doesn't get picked, then you just get the Slardar, especially when you're pairing it up with the Lifestealer. Only VG.J, okay, well now Slardar gets banned, but only VG.J seems to put such a high priority on Magnus post 7.03. During the Kiev qualifiers, I think Magnus was one of the top 3 either win rate or picked heroes in the China scene, but ever since whatever happened in 7.03, it just hasn't been as important. But it's your guess is as good as mine for how someone deals with it, because VG.J, oh man, is this going to be a maybe Veno?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Oh man. Would you care to tell the people about maybe Veno?
Well, the only real thing about maybe Veno that you need to know is that he loves playing this hero. He's played it 3 times so far, and I think that they've only had like 4 matches or something crazy like that. At least in terms of, wait, no, that's very wrong. They've had a bunch of matches, but they love this hero on maybe. In the new patch, they've played a decent number of games. They've picked it 3 times. I believe more than most of the other mid heroes in the pool, but also maybe just has like a very wide pool of heroes that he plays. Meepo is in there, also a couple of others, and I think that by and large the answer is that teams don't try and like target out a ban against maybe. They just say, all right, you're going to take whatever you're going to take, because otherwise we're going to waste too many bans on. They ban everything else. But you talked about earlier, there was like the dataless Venomancer that we saw from him in the previous game, where Veno was picked by IG, or rather by VG.J against IG. He went like Dragonlance into Hurricane Pike a little bit later, which I thought was kind of an interesting one, but it's quite strong because you just gale people and then you start running at them.
Unfortunately, VG.J seems to be, I guess, a little bit preemptively prepared for this. Juggernaut's not going to have too much issue early on with the Venomancer, as Blade Fury will be able to take care of the majority of what Veno will dish out. And even though Veno is an Agi hero who, you know, passively gains armor, it's still difficult to have to deal with Omnislash, because Venomancer is usually, you know, if you're going in aggressive, you're going to be kind of alone by yourself, which isn't the typical support Veno. Everyone, you know, this is a different paradigm of Veno that you need to consider. This is a core mid Veno, and if they do send the Juggernaut mid, it's going to be very difficult for Veno to deal with, because I guess in the game that I was mentioning, they actually, the enemy team, which was VG Gaming, sent the Batrider mid to go against Veno, and that seems like a terrible matchup for a Batrider. Most mid matchups are terrible for Bat, which is why you don't see him there very often, but especially against a Veno, that's a tough get. Juggernaut, on the other hand, will have a much easier time. Though I am a bit curious about this Winter Wyvern, but again, like I need to consider that it's going to be a physical damage heavy Venomancer. So normally you see a Wyvern, you're like, oh well, you just get a bunch of magic damage. Who cares about Cold Embrace? But it's going to be pretty useful against this Lifestealer who wants to chomp on people, as well as this Venomancer who wants to do a very right-click heavy build.
Yeah, and I think that we talk a lot about talents in the late game and how they don't actually end up mattering all that much, but this is one hero where you do tend to see it towards the later stage. Like oftentimes, as long as you haven't built yourself into too much of a deficit, the Veno build ends up being quite strong because you have 30% experience gain at level 10, which is a hell of a lot, and particularly if you're playing at mid, you'll get levels really quickly. And then you have 200 health, so you get a little bit tankier by virtue of your talents, and then at level 20, things start to really go crazy. You get 75 damage, which is pretty absurd. And for an Agi hero, it's quite nice as well. And then later on as well, it's minus 60 seconds respawn time. So in a lot of ways, this Venomancer, if you can get it rolling, has a lot more potential than it did previously. And I think that's why maybe likes this hero so much.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of how Vengeful Core kind of rose to power. A lot of people were like, well, it's an Agi hero, and its talents are pretty conducive to building damage, so maybe we should just make her a core. Don't play her in that support role, which, again, curiously, Vengeful Spirit, another top-tier pick, has been ignored in both games, which is just baffling to me. But these teams have history, as we saw earlier in the tournament, so they have developed their own strategies against each other. And specifically against this Venomancer strategy, Winter Wyvern will be pretty irritating when combined with this Magnus, because if Magnus manages to get a good RP, how do you save these targets? Because you're threatening a curse at any moment.
Right. No, definitely. It's pretty terrifying, honestly, and that's what VG.J is just sort of known for, is this incredibly strong drafts that are built around team fights, and I think it puts them in a situation where they never fully feel out of a game. And Winter Wyvern, one of those great heroes at being able to keep and hold high ground. We do see that Bloodseeker ban as well. Always interesting to see that. But yeah, Timbersaw sort of shores up their lanes as well, because you've got two strength heroes here. It's not great always against the Lifestealer.
Three strength heroes, actually.
Oh, right. Excuse me, of course. I would never think about this little fool, Mr. Spirit himself. Yeah, but it's going to be a ton of damage dealt out by Whirling Death.
Yeah, and right now they're looking for a mid, and Silencer was banned out. Oh, wow. Wait, what? Okay, maybe they're not looking for a mid. They are going to send the Juggernaut against that matchup. Okay.
Yeah.
But then,
what do you think about that?
Who's aggressive going to play?
I'm assuming that this is actually going to be... And the Phoenix last pick, this is another one that LGD has run a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken, which is also very interesting. LGD versus feeling willing to experiment a lot, which I love. It's cool.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah, they've ran it one time. It was in a game just recently as well. Don't know who it was against. It looks like it was against VG Gaming, and they ended up winning it, I believe. So, all right, Phoenix, we're doing it.
We're doing it, and for what it's worth, VG.J don't have the best team to go up against a Phoenix. It is very dependent on, like, this Phoenix has to get godlike. Like, this Phoenix has to avoid so much. You have to avoid Black Hole, you have to avoid Winter's Curse, you have to avoid Magnus RP, and then the threat of Omnislash is also going to be perpetual, because Phoenix has very, very little armor, and the Omnislash will follow you around in Icarus Dive. So, I am very skeptical on how many successful supernovas we're going to see, because it's not like LGD has the Magnus. It's not like they have the Enigma that can easily set up for a supernova, or even the Winter's Curse. Literally, I see VG.J's team and I'm like, man, it would be pretty nice if you put a Phoenix on top of it, not against it.
Well, the one thing that they do have going for them is a hell of a lot of magical damage. If you look at this lineup, you got Veno ulti, you got Magnetize, you got everything that Phoenix brings to the table, an Infest pop out from a Centaur to boot. Why the hell not? We got some things going, but it's also against the Juggernaut as Play Fury, so we'll see how it goes. Do you believe? I mean, you said that you're not the biggest fan of it. What's their way that they win this game, though? If LGD were to take this one, how do they take it?
They have to play VG's game better than VG. You said that VG.J are famed for their aggressive team fight comps, and it seems that LGD is just going to fight fire with fire. Although that's also part of the issue with core Veno is that it's not these types of hit and run Veno, the Veil Veno that you can just dump a lot of damage on and then back out and wait for the deaths to start rolling in. They don't have anything like a Warlock to be able to quickly boost these damage potentials of all this magic comp that LGD is running. They need to get very, very delicate positioning, bait VG.J into fights that make them spend these expensive cooldowns like Black Hole, Omni Slash, RP, and then they just need to take the upper hand. It's a tall order, but if anyone can do it, it's going to be maybe Venomancer.
You know, this game might be awesome. I'm just gonna say it. Like, it's gonna be really interesting to watch how the team fights work out. But I feel like there's again one of those games where neither team is gonna feel fully out of it until there's like maybe a 20,000 net worth lead, and even then you can't just assault high ground. They're gonna have to play it as pretty safe with like either Blade Fury right clicks or up on the high ground and then pulling them back in, or like Rage TP or not Rage TP, Rage right clicks and then backing out. It's all a very scary story right now for either team in terms of the amount of team fight that's available.
Yeah, and it's also compounded by the fact that neither team really has that ultra late game carry. There is no Spectre, there is no Arc Warden, there is no Medusa. It's a Life Stealer against a Juggernaut, a tale as old as time, and both of these heroes are great early game, great mid game, and they're as strong as many carries in the late game, but they're going to be heavily dependent on all of these team fight ults. They're not going to be able to be the ones dictating the pace after around 30 minutes. It's going to be the supports.
You know, I gotta say, I don't believe this is going to be as big of a stomp as we saw last time. You actually have, like, real heroes in this one. And I also feel like there's not as weak of lanes from LGD. It's different, but the lanes aren't as weak. Maybe the Phoenix is going to be the weak part of it. Like, we'll have to watch what Yao can actually do, and obviously this ward here stopping the gank from even happening. Freeze is going to be safe, but yeah, we'll have to see how this works out bottom, as that feels like a lot of where the pressure is going to be coming.
This laning phase in general is going to be very passive because, I mean, Earth Spirit's a very strong roamer by himself, but Phoenix is not the best roamer. Very mana intensive, not very fast. They're going in now.
Yeah, onto ROTK, good bit of damage. Sunray, they force out the Skewer and still going to be able to push him back. It's always frustrating having to play against that Sunray.
Yeah, but Skewer is a great way to be able to deal with all of this. No open wounds concerns, and Silence isn't going to come out from Earth Spirit for a while. So ROTK, yeah, he's feeling confident. Even though Skewer's on cooldown, he knows that Sunray is going to be on cooldown as well.
Nothing.
Oh. And look at this, too. You do have the Freeze rushing out a pipe, or a Hood of Defiance. Like, he knows what his life is going to be in this lane. He's just going to keep on getting hit by Gales constantly and wants to keep those reactive stacks up, I'm sure, as much as possible. But he is taking a little bit of a CS deficit to Maybe, who starting with a decent little lead there.
Yeah, it's not a lane that a Timbersaw can win, that's for sure, but him breaking even is all that really matters, because Veno is a pretty intimidating mid. You don't see it put up very often, but especially in pub games, it's very effective, because no one's going to rotate in on a Veno, and that's the best way to deal with it. And the way that LGD are playing it, they haven't really shown what this Phoenix and the Sword Spirit are going to commit to, so you can't go in easily on the Veno, even if you wanted to go aggressive.
Yeah. And even if, like, that haste turn right there, Veno doesn't care. He throws out another Gale, a couple right clicks. He's got a bunch of, sustain in this lane, and Timbersaw has to go use his Shrine already. Definitely not the way that you would want to start it. But, again, it's a hero that can catch back up. And the big thing I'm waiting for is what is FY going to do in this game? How is he going to make his plays? And do you think it's worth, like, rushing a Blink Dagger early and try and just shut down that Venomancer?
Well, he didn't go for Iron Talon, he went for Boots first, and so that definitely implies to me that he wants to be able to do some action, he wants to be able to go on people. Whether he'll find those openings or not, that remains to be seen, because at this early stage, they don't have any stuns on VG.J, like at all. All they have is Maledict, and, Enigma isn't going to be able to just purely set stuff up himself. So I don't think that they can take too much advantage of a Blink Dagger early on, especially because the Magnus will most likely be going for it first. So I think FY's job will be able to be more sustained. I'm pretty sure a Mechanism may be the better option. I've seen Ice go Helm of the Dominator on Enigma,
Could see
but
Midas.
definitely some more utility. Or Midas, yeah, definitely.
If they don't feel like they're going to be able to get stuff done, certainly scaling into the late game would be a great option for them. And they've got all of these heroes that are aimed at trying to extend the game out to longer and longer stages. Winter Wyvern pushes out waves. You've got the Timbersaw who's great at it. Enigma just sort of passively as well with his Eidolons. Oh, and it's going to try and steal that bounty rune away, but looks like Centaur is going to be the one to pick that up, and should end up just continuing to amount to a very passive laning stage. When do you think this starts to break down? Who's going to be the big hero that makes the rotation?
Out of all 10 of these heroes, I think it's going to be mostly dependent on Magnus. No one else on LGD are really, like, aside from Earth Spirit rotations, which aren't dependent on any item pickup, such as him dependent on getting good positioning and enemies being out of position, as we may see mid, but we'll see.
Yeah,
it's going to be on this Magnus's blink timing, and once he gets it, then the party really starts. Other than that, this is just the calm before the storm.
And also giving a little bit of an empower to FY in his way through. Why not? Give him a little bit of extra bonus there. M99...
Strong, independent Enigma.
Absolutely. M99 did get spotted out there by a ward, and, well, it's about to expire. That should signal the LGD, if they were able to quite catch it, that that's why those ganks weren't succeeding. So, fine and dandy. Phase Boots picked up for the Lifestealer. We did see Burning run Midas on the Lifestealer himself when they weren't able to get aggressive early. Do you like that choice at all in this game?
Yeah, I think both carries would... you don't typically see it on Juggernaut, but you also have Magnus and Power for Juggernaut, so it's not too big of a deal for him to go for a mid-game farming item. But for a Lifestealer to keep up, I think it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility. He's going for this armlet, but he may have a tough time keeping up with Juggernaut.
Yeah, maybe they'll just have to use M99 as like that initiating tool, because, and then try and move in and kill off the Juggernaut. Whatever the case needs to be, it definitely feels like if you're going for that item, you got to get aggro early.
Right.
And I mean, Jug has been farming up a storm. I mean, look at this guy. He's got 44 last hits. Took out the large camp that was stacked up once. He's got phase boots, going to be building back towards the Aquila as well as the poor man shield. He's stacked.
Yeah, and comparatively speaking, this Lifestealer has been getting it contested a little bit more by the Magnus, and yet, mid lane.
Freeze taking some damage here, going to get stunned up. He's got ulti, everything else on top of him. They need to take down that healing ward. Is going to end up falling, but M99 in trouble now. Freeze will die to this. That's first blood, but they will also take down the Earth Spirit in exchange.
I'm really surprised that he got slipped up by that Urso bot lane. RTK gets pretty low, but now Ame. Yeah, there's no mana on RTK. It would have been really nice if that Juggernaut got first blood before Timber did, but unfortunately he got his ankles broken by a bootless, or no, he has boots now on M99, but still, phase boot. Oh, bot lane.
Yeah, RTK.
Yeah.
Didn't quite know where he wanted to go with that one as Yao came in and just threw a little sunray action on him. And this was something that was nerfed, switched over to magical damage, but considering there's already so much magical damage on this team, you end up seeing it maybe translated into a Veil later?
For him, yes. His whole team can heavily benefit from it, as now we'll see all the magic damage.
Go in. They're right there on top of Freeze. They aren't quite going to be able to find that kill and force Icarus dive away.
Oh geez, and Yao almost dies to that tower shot. Shout out to Zero Armor on Phoenix.
We'll see if they decide to go in, use the Shrine. I'm sure they will in just a little bit. How do you feel like LGD are feeling about their game so far?
They're not too... I mean, like, any kills that they get right now are just gravy. Like, for both teams, it's all just dependent on when these initiating heroes get their Blink Daggers, which Enigma is going to be going for that Midas, as you suggested, so he's definitely more concerned about the late game, or just scaling well into the mid and late game. And plus his talent synergized with as well. Enigma got a 7.03 buff. Oh, wait, never mind. Never mind, I'm thinking of someone else.
He does have the gold per minute at 15, which is pretty awesome.
That's true.
That'll take a while.
But he'll definitely be able to scale well, and so Enigma is one of those rare support heroes that, since he has that percentage damage on Midnight Pulse, he is always relevant, especially against these tanky heroes like a Lifestealer and a Centaur.
Another Gale combo got used on the Timbersaw. They needed to use a Cold Embrace to keep him alive. Freeze almost ended up dropping down, but Looks like he'll be able to heal back up, head back out, but this is just a very frustrating laning stage, I'm sure, for a Timbersaw. 28-1 versus the 54-28 denies on this Veno. Maybe has just been all over him, and this is, I think, a large part of the reason why they've been really liking this hero, is his ability to just constantly harass people out of lane.
Yeah, which is why I'm skeptical that they decided to send aggressive to the top lane. I mean, I've never really seen the Jug Veno mid matchup before, because now XZ is getting rotated on. There's no Blink Dagger or anything though, and he has Stampede.
Yeah, RTK looking, but not gonna find it. And it's tough to find the kills. It's also funny to me that you have all of the heroes pretty much of VG right now building into hoods as well. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but oh, was that? I just must have misclicked on it. Looks like it was just actually the Timbersaw.
Bot lane, Fenrir.
Go in, find it. Not gonna get it.
Yao can't dive. He's so squishy.
Oh my god.
M99.
All right. Well, a quick Omni Slash finishes that one off. So we switch over towards the net worth. No surprise, the Jug is still sitting up top.
Wow, they used Poison Nova on this Juggernaut. I mean, on this Timbersaw.
He
should be alive.
Really low.
He has eight wand charges.
Well, it's still a lot of damage. Cold Embrace.
He's fine now.
Yeah, they won't be able to quite find the finish. That did so much damage, though, each time he grows in with that.
Yeah, and that's why he went for basically a solo kill. I've seen maybe get several solo kills like that because you're just not expecting it. You're like, oh, I'm at like half HP. What's the worst that could happen? And then you're walking your way back to your fountain. And you're like, wait, I think I'm dead.
Yeah. And he's level 8 now, very soon going to be getting in towards that experience talent, which can just cause so much more issues. And again, with this solo, you got to imagine what happens once you bring in that Earth Spirit. You start stacking up any other source of damage. It's just going to be a nightmare to deal with. And I mean, the plus side, if you're right now on the side of VG Gaming, is that FY has been left completely alone in the jungle. He's the 4th highest net worth in the game.
And he hasn't even gotten that Midas yet. It's getting delivered out to him now. Assuming he doesn't die to rain, maybe rain, but again, does not have that Poison Nova used in mid, and so Enigma should feel relatively safe, unless if Earth Spirit also joins. But man, FY, that game sense.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. They knew it was coming in. They're going to scan out as well that he is not in the mid lane for free, so that signals that it only could have been going over into the jungle. And
yeah, he had picked up an Invis rune earlier, and then Freeze saw him and was like, get out of my lane. And then Veno never showed himself again, so chances are he's decided to put his interests elsewhere. But bot lane...
they're going to go in on this right now, but Ame's going to be getting a lot... Oh, he jumps inside the creep! Black Hole not going to do it this time, and now they're going to be able to chase him down even further. Possibly can go for this kill. Icarus dive forward. They have the Supernova as well, in a hell of a lot of trouble. FY is going to drop Stampede to follow it up, and they're just trying to take him down. There is going to be a Winter's Curse, so everybody hitting on Ame, but I think he'll be able to survive through that rage to get away. Great reaction by Ame.
Yeah, and this, as I suspected, once the Blink Daggers start coming on, Centaur was like, oh, you guys want to fight? We can fight. It was partially a product of Enigma not really properly staggering that Black Hole. I don't know if he didn't have the mana for it, because really there's no, like, Black Hole is not the kind of spell that you're like, oh, I need to time this perfectly to make sure that I get the maximum amount of crowd control.
Right.
A Lifestealer will die inside of a Black Hole, no matter what, but for some reason wasn't timing it properly, and that's a very expensive cooldown use. In fact, like, pretty much both teams use all of their cooldowns because Supernova was also traded for it, as well as Stampede.
Gotta get those stun timers on.
Right.
It's the play. Well, Aggressive is going to be here on top of M99, and this should, well, maybe not be a kill. He can kick him away again in a second here if he wants to. What, juke? What? What is that juke?
He doesn't want to spend Omni Slash. Like, he could have gone for the kill and he was hoping to just, like, chop him down. And then he was just like, I already used Omni Slash on you once, and that was why it wasn't on cooldown for that other fight. You get out alive this time.
All right, that's fair enough. I'm willing to accept that. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. But in the meantime, the smoke up, and now XZ inside is a Lifestealer ready to pop out. Looks like Timbersaw might be the one that they go on.
He's so low from all his chip damage. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Well, and now a tower to follow. All right, LGD coming together with the Venomancer as the sort of the oil that's making this engine turn. That's how engines work, right?
Exactly. They don't call it a rotary engine for nothing. I mean, this is a product of LGD hitting their item timing sooner. Oh, M99 gonna die in the top lane.
That's unfortunate. Really good play there by FY. Able to get the stun off, and then he wasn't able to roll Boulder away.
He's kind of sticking around here, though. And he's not getting his Blink Dagger canceled. Oh, okay. Wow. I mean, that was good positioning.
Yeah, really nicely done. I think that was even like a short blink as well. Like he did a short one to juke out where the Centaur would have thought he was going to go.
What, on the Enigma? Enigma doesn't have a blink yet.
Well, then he just walked. Yeah.
Yes, he walked.
With the frames dropping, it looked like he blinked.
Right. I don't blame you at all.
All right. Well, in
but
the meantime,
Lifestealer's managed to complete that armlet. Meanwhile, Aggressive is sitting on his Yasha, which this is a pretty common aggressive build. He's actually going to finish it out into the full Manta, which doesn't surprise me. Being able to purge off a large portion of LGD's spells. You can purge off Open Wounds, Magnetize. I believe you can also purge off the Venomous Gale, so on top of this Blade Fury, Aggressive is going to feel very, very tanky. And then with that Empower that's level 3, he also deals a lot of damage.
This is quite a tremendous amount if they're able to get it all queued up together. Enigma almost level 10 as well, and it does have that Midas now off cooldown. It's got so much control on this team if they can just get it all together. I mean, that's the thing, is that like Ame, I feel like, is in the end game still going to be countered out pretty heavily because they have so many BKB piercing disables, 3 of them on this team.
Which is why he's basically going to be drawing aggro for his team. It's up to VG.J to spend all these BKB piercing disables to kill the Lifestealer, and then meanwhile you're going to be magnetized, you're going to be taken down to Poison Nova, and then you need to worry about killing a Supernova as well. So they need to draw focus everywhere, and now right now Timbersaw top lane.
Oh, the stun. They are going to be able to catch on to Freeze. The Winter's Curse trying to turn it, but Freeze is still stuck there in the Cold Embrace, and it does look like they're going to try and chase this. Supernova even committed. Can they find this kill? They have a Stomp available. Oh, it's just barely not going to be enough. Oh, if that Stomp came a second earlier, it would have been there, but still, now they go in with M99. 2 heroes are already dead. He will kill off Fenrir, and it looks like with maybe here as well, they'll be able to bring down ROTK just barely. Aggressive showing up now, Omni Slash available, but Ame is here as well as maybe, and they're just going to keep this pressure on. Freeze is kind of left out on an island as well, and looks like he will be able to cut them through.
Why is he still sticking around?
Oh, that's why! The black hole, they got him! They baited it out, jebaited. Can they kill him off, though? It does look like they get the ulti coming out from the Veno, which will kill off the Jug. And it looks like Freeze might end up falling as well. No, he just has the ulti on him. Unless they can quite get into range with M99. Phoenix shows back up. DOT on top of Freeze, trying to bring these guys down. The team fight has lasted forever. Able to juke all of those Fire Spirits. He threw out 4 of them, and they didn't hit 1. Oh my god, that was beautiful juking by Freeze.
The rare, like, double stage debating. Again, I thought whenever the Phoenix came in for the second half of that, or like I don't know, the fourth quarter of that team fight after they had the halftime in between, the Phoenix Sunray was going to be able to do enough, but that slow turn rate, even though this Timbersaw just has basic boots, the chain is all he needs to just slip and slide all around these Fire Spirits, so... In the end, it was what I was expecting, everyone using their ultimates, but VG.J this time come out on top, and that was all dependent on that beautifully staggered black hole, just waiting until they caught the Venomancer.
That was great. That was really well played. Oh man, this game has been great so far. 18 kills in 17 minutes, and doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon.
This is what 7.03 was all about. It was all about, no, stop pushing towers. I'm going to give them armor. You go kill people now. That's what you do.
You do have vision right now of the area around Roche, but VG.J don't realize that this is being taken. Not something you would tend to expect, but Veno with the DD rune and also, having some magical damage.
Let's go, Illusions. Winter's Curse is up, but Wyvern's like miles away, so they're gonna get this.
Yeah, really smartly played, and again, it's like, there's not much minus armor, but do you think that the changes to magical damage affecting Roche is enough that, like, Veno deals a lot of magical damage? Did that affect that at all, or what was your thought?
I think it's more that they knew that Black Hole was down, and if Black Hole's down, then VG.J are very reluctant to take a full-on fight, whereas Aggressive...
Well, spinning TPing, should be able to escape with that one. And that is a downside. VG.J took all the BKB piercing disables. Need to get some more on this team.
Yeah, which Lifestealer, a pretty common Basher builder. Right now he's going for this Sange and Yasha, which seems like an unconventional pickup, seeing as how he's gone for this Midas. He's more late game oriented, and then Sange and Yasha is kind of one of those like, oh yeah, you know, I want to be useful in the mid game.
Yeah.
And I mean, technically he could still turn into Sange into a Heaven's Halberd, which we've been seeing somewhat frequently, but this game evasion is not really important.
Ooh, this would be a huge kill, though. If they could possibly find and kill off
They have
aggressive, it's
vision.
going to be tough.
They see him.
They're going to jump out on top of him right away. Good amount of damage, and they will be able to find that kill. Nicely played. Winter's Curse is still up and alive, and they're going to throw it now onto XZ. He's taking a good bit of damage, but there's nowhere near going to be enough, and now the Venom ulti comes down. ROTK forced to back away, but he might end up falling to this unless he can get to the Shrine in time. We'll see if he does end up ticking down the Shrine, keeping him alive, but they are onto Fenrir nonetheless. So ROTK will live from this.
He's still ticking.
Oh my god, he almost ended up going down there.
Yeah,
But
he'll be fine now.
it's enough where they can't defend.
Oh yeah, no, maybe is the zoning king, and no, it's not with Plague Wards, it's with a Dragonlance Maelstrom. This Magnus wanted to go in, but his Blink Dagger was permanently cancelled, so there was no way that he could counter-initiate, and Winter's Curse was the setup for an RP. There was no way that Wyvern was expecting to kill the Magnus or really discourage any further pursuit. They just didn't know that the Venomancer was going to slide his way on in and make sure Magnus was irrelevant for a team fight.
Yeah. Quite strong, this combination that we've seen. And it shows why LGD do really like this set of heroes. I mean, if you force everybody back and you're able to keep this type of pressure on, not to mention the fact that Veno really hasn't even hit his peak yet. I think that probably around 20 is when it happens, when he gets that bonus 75 damage on top of everything else he's been building into.
Oh, this is a risky TP mid.
Black hole available.
And RP.
They are all aggressive is here. Everybody is in the area. But they're not willing to go on it. They are so spooked.
If they spend all these cooldowns, he comes back with Aegis, and
Right.
then you panic because the rest of LGD are just going to come on down and be like, oh, I appreciate you spending so many resources on this disposable Lifestealer life.
This is a better kill.
Yeah, Centaur is a much better kill.
And they are going to drop the RP for that one. Skewer back in. That should be enough, I imagine. Well, going to end up stampeding away. They still have the Malefice that's
Into the
onto him,
Midnight
slowing
Pulse.
down, and that is going to be enough for the kill. Although, that being said, Aggressive actually does not have his way out of this one and is going to end up dropping Black Hole. It's going to be laid out. Is it going to be enough damage, though? They might still get the maybe ulti off, and it does look like with the Supernova, that's Veno ulti on everybody. They're all dead. That was a huge play coming in. It looks like they will get out with one. Timbersaw survives, but man, oh man, that's a lot of damage.
They desperately need a pipe on VG.J, and right now Timbersaw is the only one in the vicinity of building it, and even then he's going for stopping off for a Bloodstone first. Wyvern has basically nothing. She's going for a Midas of her own. Magnus just has that Blink Dagger and is working on a mech right now. Initially, I thought that everyone had the right idea, going for like cloaks and hoods and maybe even a Glimmer Cape on the Wyvern as well, but they're okay conceding a little bit of early and mid control. They're really banking on the late game for VG.J.
Yeah, and I think that like they can get there as long as they don't lose team fight after team fight after team fight. It's kind of what we saw last game in a way, where there was the late game possibility that LGD had. And as long as they did just end up like losing complete and total map control, which they haven't, that would be okay. You have 3 Midases now on this VG.J skid. Excuse me, only 2 of them, but the other one's on the Lifestealer, and also you have one on Phoenix. Everybody's getting Midases. What the hell?
When you don't have carries, the supports become the carries.
Why not? All right, well, here we go. Pressure onto this tier 3 tower, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense. You do not have Black Hole. You do not have RP still, I think. Oh, they got it back up now. But, well, with Wyvern showing up, they all decide to back out.
Yeah, this is one of those games where a lot of people make fun of Envy for tracking like every single cooldown. This is one of the games where it's very important, because if just one of these teamfight ultimates is down, like right now we can look right now at Radiant, and there's a very brief window of time when like Supernova's up, but Poison Nova isn't, or maybe RP is up. Oh, Run away, ROTK.
He might end up going down here. Nonetheless, they are just going to be able to kill him off. Maybe does so much damage.
So much damage and so much slow. You can't run away from him. He will follow you, especially now that he's completed this pike on top of the Dragonlance. There is no way you escape.
Well, again, it's important to keep in mind in context how important this game is for these guys. If you drop out now for LGD, this is one of the last tournaments that is really major that's going to have like, well, not in last tournaments, but it's a really important tournament thinking about TI going forward and the invites for it, because it happens after the Kiev Major. LGD are not going to be there at Kiev, obviously, so getting a good performance here and making it to the event would be huge. And otherwise, like, you're thinking about disbanderindo time almost. I don't know. It's a rough one.
Yeah, VG.J, luckily, they have that invite. Oh,
yeah. He can get off the supernova if he wants. He is going to pop it. They have a stun to follow. Are going to be able to lay it out, but no, it's still going to end up dropping. The Winter Wyvern found it, and this is a really bad fight for LGD.
Skewer.
It looks like they're also going to end up losing this Centaur, possibly. Well, maybe not. Black Hole drops down onto 2. A great boulder smash through, though, is going to be able to turn this back around, and the silence comes out as well. ROTK going to drop. They turned it back around off the back of some great play from that Earth Spirit. Xe is going to live as well. They're going to start to chase these guys down. Veno ulti only ended up connecting onto Freeze, as well as, well, not even aggressive, but aggressive should still fall here, I do believe. Maybe Freeze can turn this back around, but aggressive is so freaking low. Freeze is going to die. That's 4 down.
no suicide.
Great game and great fight by M99. He is playing out of his mind.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, alright? RP
Well, okay,
is
fair
up.
enough. Yeah.
Because Magnus was silenced, like, perfectly staggered. It's such lucky positioning. Well, not lucky. M99 had the perfect spot at the right time to be able to cancel that black hole. Otherwise, RP was about to be just slapped on top of it, and that would have been disastrous for Ame. He didn't have his Aegis anymore either, and so almost certainly would have gone down with that Centaur, and Centaur didn't use Stampede Aghanims. He was sitting on it, and was able to use it to absorb pretty much the entire Omni-Slash of Juggernaut, making that part irrelevant.
Oh, and FY, he went over here onto Yao, not quite able to find that kill, and with an urn laid out there from the Earth Spirit, is going to be able to survive that one, so they lose the Enigma as well. When I was saying great game, I meant that he's been playing a great game more than the game is actually over. Yeah, this game is far from over at this point. Neither team, I think, feels completely safe at this point. Certainly not VG.J.
No, VG.J are like, they will fight for the last like moment, because you get these many Midases, you're not going to call it. That's the trade-off between both these teams right now, because they're both very teamfight heavy oriented. But VG.J, they had their carry build mid-game, because Aggressive has this Blink Dagger Manta, whereas LGD had their carry build late game with this Midas and, I guess, the farming potential of the Saint Yasha. Meanwhile, the supports of LGD all built for this survivability and teamfight potential early on. This Pycon maybe, the Aghanim's a Hood on the Centaur, the Blink Dagger on Earth Spirit, whereas VG.J, they're banking on the late game, 2 Midases on their supports, and this Bloodstone on Freeze as opposed to something like the Pipe.
Yeah. Well, and Freeze really has been under fire constantly this game from the very beginning. You know, it was 50 and 28 in terms of the last hits and denies for the Veno versus like the 25 for him. Really rough start, and it's just a hard matchup. And also the other thing we need to keep in mind now, maybe has hit that level 20 mark, so 75 bonus damage. He is hitting quite hard at this point with a Mjolnir completed.
Thankfully, Freeze has completed his pipe, so we'll mitigate some of that Mjolnir damage, but like the pipe is going to get burned off so quickly. You just need to hope that within that that 400 magic shield that your team is going to be able to get off all their cooldowns. Hopefully Enigma is working his way to a BKB. Okay, yeah, he actually almost has it, so that's going to be very important, especially if they do it around this Roche pit.
And on top of the Midas, he also has that 120 gold per minute talent as well now, so he's going to keep getting items. Then it does sort of feel like we saw last game where there was this timing window where LGD had to just push it to later, and VG.J are at that point as well, where I think that this is the peak of LGD. They got to make something happen with it, and certainly going into Roche and securing this is going to help them in that regard.
Yeah, because all of VG.J, like, they're all relatively decent BKB builders, aside from the Wyvern, but Jug, Timber, Mag, and Enigma, all very common BKB builders, and since they've been holding off for for this long. Like, no one on either team, or well, actually FY just completed his BKB, which we mentioned earlier, but aside from that, it's all fresh BKBs, which means that 10 seconds in like a fight breaking out at 45 minutes is really valuable.
18 to 13. We'll see if this BKB Enigma is going to be able to do the trick. It certainly isn't going to hurt. And I mean, the problem is that you still have so many heroes that are going to like just die if they get caught by that ulti from the Venomancer. How do you like the idea of just keeping on going for right click for Veno?
Yeah, I mean, you've gone this far deep, and all of his, I guess his talents aren't like railroading him into right click aside from the damage talent, but really you have no incentive to start transitioning at this point, especially because, like I said, there are no BKBs out yet for VG.J, and so if you do start committing to Magic, then you're going to be useless once those BKBs comes out, so it's in his best interest to kind of go right click. He's kind of splitting the difference here. It looks like he has a Blink Dagger queued up, which, you know, it helps with his right click potential, but also helps him get a very ideal Poison Nova.
Yeah, definitely, and super maneuverable as well. So going to sell out his Windlace for that one. Now he has maximum mobility on this hero. Maybe bots is going to be that next step as well, but it feels like LGD are gearing up now for a big push in. So we've mentioned they've got the Aegis on Lifestealer, and they're ready to party. They spot out RTK? Not quite.
Top Shrine's been taken down. They don't have any vision on this high. Oh, okay, now they do. Phoenix places the ward. And if they can find a pick and just eliminate really any one person from VG.J, like you get a pick on any one target, it's great. Whereas sometimes you'll like kill one support and you'll be like, ah, we can't really do much off of that, but Wyvern's important. Everyone's important.
Look at these wards, too. They're going to skewer back in, but Ame pops Rage. He's going to be fine. That forces out the Glyph, and they can keep spending out these wards constantly. This is a really hard hold now for VG.J because they don't have heroes that are great at taking these down.
They don't, and they have heroes who need to rely on mobility, and so all these wards slowing them down in addition to chipping down the tower is very difficult.
Alright, Aggressive jumps in. Ame getting healed. RP onto 2. They're still holding on for the moment.
Where is
they
Enigma?
have a Winter's Curse if they want to use it, but Enigma not there for the moment. They're just going to back out. And Ame, he's going to be able to live through this. They take down the barracks.
Well, I guess it could be worse, but the question is why spend RP in that situation unless if you were planning on, you know, fully comboing it. Maybe they were just like, just go for an RP. If you get 3 heroes, then we'll go. If you don't get 3 heroes, then we won't. And plus, Lifestealer still has the Aegis, so if you get Lifestealer, then maybe we won't go for it. I don't know, but that's one expensive cooldown for another 75 seconds.
Ame is up there front and center. They are going on to freeze. A hell of a lot of damage being dealt out. Needs to be careful with this one. Black Hole still available for FY. The wards don't quite scout him out as of yet, so he's hiding in the trees, ready to jump out with the Blink Black Hole. But this is so much of what the value of the wards gives you, is the ability to break those blinks as they come out. Ame going forward, onto aggressive again, still doing a ton of damage. They're thinking about going for it, but still no vision as of yet onto FY. He jumps forward, throws a stun onto Ame. They're going to skewer him back in. Don't want to commit the Black Hole for this one, but this is going to be the Aegis pop now.
That was great timing. Rage was down, so that was their window. Now what can they do?
Alright, Ame gonna hit away again at this tower, but with Aegis down, they've taken out all the trees as well. There's nowhere left to hide for FY, and he's gonna get his Blink Dagger broken if he steps too far forward. So, yet again out, and they take down the tier 3, gonna feel content with that.
Again, not the worst situation for VG.J. The thing is that I don't think they're willing to like concede Mega Creeps, because VG.J's team is not good at dealing with Mega Creeps. This Juggernaut does not have like wave clearing items, he has team fighting items, he has pick-off items.
Speaking of pickoffs, they're going in for this one, but all of the wards scouting out everybody of VG.J, and it's going to be hard for them to find that perfect engagement. Nice blink away by that Wyvern, but now Freeze is a bit far forward. He spots out Yao, maybe jumps forward. That's going to be a really big ulti onto 3, but they can't quite get the Black Hole off. FY pop BKB for that one. And, this is a scary moment now. I think the VG.J, they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They try and get him out of there. Magnetize used as well. They still have Stampede if they want to use it. Ag Stampede. But LGD will let them go.
This is so smart by LGD. Like, Freeze was begging for someone to initiate on him. He was walking into, like, he knew the entire team saw him. He was just like, hit me! Someone blink on me and do something! But they wouldn't. Only wait until you see the Enigma. And when you do that, then you have whatever you need.
They have RP back up again now, so the full assortment of abilities is available. And LGD, they're going to back out yet again. But I think that there's been a ton of structural damage to the point where LGD have bought themselves more time on this ticking time bomb of these Midases, of the empowered melee heroes. I think they're in a good spot.
Definitely. It's you know, when you're LGD, you see that the Enigma BKB is down, and you're like, should we do something? And it looks like they might, but it's going to be up by the time they meet Enigma.
It does not look like they... Oh, smoke on smoke action. This could be a really big engagement. They're just going to walk right past each other. Oh, God. Oh, this is scary. And now they're going to go in. They're just going to take the racks. They've got it. I think that they can just go in for this.
Backdoor is still up, but yeah, no, they're just like, dude, where the hell did they go?
All right. Yeah.
Now I see the mid lane's getting pushed. Now they might go.
I mean,
this is optimistic.
Yeah, this is... they're doing a lot of damage to it, but I don't think that this is the play. Everybody's coming back now.
Yeah.
All right, that was awkward.
That was a plan B for both teams. That was actually more like a plan C for both teams.
Also, Enigma does have... Oh, they don't quite spot out FY, but they do spot aggressive. There's the jump forward. He ends up bleaking out in time. That's only a black hole into one. Xe isn't even going to end up dropping to this. He stays alive. Glimmer Cape comes into play. They throw out the Venom ulti, also off the mark there, but Freeze still going to be controlled. They jump forward with M99. He's on top of two of them, magnetized down as well. There's not going to be any counter initiation here. It looks like Freeze might end up going down. They drop the Supernova, the Winter's Curse. There's been a whole assortment of miscast spells in this fight. Tension's running high, but I think that LGD come out for the better because of it.
Staring contest and VG.J blinked first. Enigma does not have any black hole. They do have RP, but it's so difficult for Magnus to blink.
Yeah, they just can't get into range. FY, he's queued up Refresher, but he's not going to be able to get there in time. And well, this is going to be a melee barracks dropping. I don't think that they can stop this one. So hard. RTK jumps forward. All right, RP, the skewer though. Oh no. Wasn't quite there. He realized he wasn't going to be able to make anything of it. And now with those barracks down, it looks like LGD are just going to run out of here.
I think he was going for that rotating RP, but, you know, like you said, it's a high-pressure situation, and the timing, it's kind of precise, so as a result, don't get the skewer. Maybe it would have resulted in 2 kills, maybe it would have resulted in VG.J getting completely wiped, because Centaur Stampede was still up. That was really the only major ult for LGD up, but, I mean, we see how strong they are right now. They have a, what, 20,000 net worth advantage, so...
Yeah.
VG.J are on life support right now with just 1 pair of naked racks remaining. Well actually, and 1 ranged mid.
Oh, M99 spots out Aggressive. Aggressive did not spot him. He pops the Manta style and will be able to Blade Fury away, but still a lot of damage coming in for Baby. He is going to drop here, I believe. Omni Slash to try and turn it.
Blink.
Oh, all right, nice play. Able to get out of there. Freeze is also trying to get away.
Continues.
Oh, the stun! They got the Aggressive. Great combo, maybe with the Daedalus is just doing too much damage. All these heroes on top of them, they're able to try and walk away from this one, and M99's taking a good bit as well, but Fenrir's gonna get ran down, maybe with the double kill, and this is going to be GG as somehow, some way, LGD managed to pull it back off the back of some great Venom mid play, and well, we're going to a game number 3. Tsunami, talk to me. What are you thinking about this as we get into the next one?
I think you have to respect ban Venom mid.
Really?
I don't think that, like, so far, I have not seen a competent counter to it. And you can either counter it in lane, or you can counter it with, you know, your late game potential or something like that. One thing that I did find curious was that no one built a blade mail. Like, in that entire game, nobody built a blade mail. And I would have felt that Magnus or Centaur would have benefited pretty heavily from it. But, I mean, I guess maybe Magnus more. He went for the mechanism instead. And as great as a burst heal is, LGD didn't care about burst heal. They will whittle you down no matter how long you're in the fight. Magnetize will keep popping. Poison Nova will keep ticking. And that's more than a mechanism can sustain. But still, I think the prime issue is that the mid lane was just heavily dominated by Maybe. Timbersaw got nothing done, and he completed the pipe too late. His team lost.
All right, well, we're going to have to see if possibly they can pull it back in game number 3, but elimination match for both of these teams from the Manila Masters Chinese qualifiers. There's already been a bunch of direct invites. This is one of 3 qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken, for this event. So both teams really wanting a spot, and then, of course, the winner is going to have to face off against IG, who just knocked VG.J down to the lower bracket in a 2-0 series, the game right before this one, and they're going to play a best-of-5, whoever wins this next game against IG tomorrow. So stay tuned. More great action to come. Myself, Lyrical, as well as Tsunami, going to be bringing you the action here on BTS. We'll see you guys in a few.